Most of us have been taught that if we want our lives to change, we need to change ourselves, our beliefs, our mindset, our habits. And there is truth in that. But there's a piece that almost nobody talks about, and it might be the piece that changes everything. It's not about changing yourself, it's about changing your relationship with what is already around you. And the clearest description of how to do that I have ever found is not in psychology, not in a psychology textbook or a self help book or a neuroscience paper. It's an old Eastern European folk tale about a woman and the wind. The story is set in a mountain valley, the kind of place where winter does not drift in gently. It arrives. The wind comes roaring down through the mountain passes, driving snow sideways, shaking shutters, bending trees. Every year, the villagers endured it the same way. They cursed it, they braced against it, they waited for spring with gritted teeth. But there was one old woman in the village who did something the others thought was eccentric, maybe even mad. When the wind came, she went to her doorway and she spoke to it. She did not beg it to stop. She did not rage against it. She thanked it for moving the clouds along, for carrying seeds across the valley floor, for clearing the stagnant air from the low fields where the livestock grazed. And in the story, the wind heard her. It bent its fiercest gusts away from her cottage for the rest of that winter. Her roof held, her animals were calm, and come spring, her garden was the first in the valley to bloom.
Now, before we go any further, I want to name what might be happening in your mind right now. Because you're probably thinking, that's a lovely story, but it is just a story. And that is exactly the right response. Because the question worth asking is not whether the wind literally changed. The question is, what did that woman understand that everyone else in the valley had missed? Here is what she understood. The wind was not her enemy. It never had been. It was a force performing a function inside a living system, the same living system that she was a part of. The other villagers were not wrong that the wind was harsh. Their assessment of the facts was accurate, but they had made a second move, a quiet, almost unconscious move that cost them everything. They had turned the wind into an opponent. And when you make your environment into an opponent, you are at war all winter. Your nervous system stays braced, your thinking narrows, you stop seeing anything except the threat. What the old woman did, and this is the idea at the center of everything that we're going to talk about today, is recognition. She saw the wind clearly for what it actually was, without the filter of hostility. And that single shift changed the entire nature of her experience. The environment responds to recognition, not metaphorically, not magically, concretely, because recognition changes you and you change the interaction.
I want to sit with that for a moment because I think it's easy to nod along and miss how radical it actually is. We are so conditioned to believe that our circumstances need to change before we can feel differently. And the job improves, the relationship heals, the situation resolves, and then we relax, then we open up, then life feels workable. But the old woman did not wait for spring. She changed her relationship with winter, and something in the winter changed in response. I've lived on both sides of this. There have been long seasons in my own life where I was essentially at war with my circumstances. Not always dramatically, just that constant low hum of resistance, bracing, pushing back, treating difficulty as evidence that something had gone wrong. And the exhausting thing was not difficulty itself, it was the war. Recognition ended the war, not by making everything fine overnight, but by letting me see clearly what was actually there and find my place inside of it rather than outside it fighting.
Neuroscientist Michael Posner spent decades studying selective attention. And what his research shows is this: the brain does not passively receive reality, it constructs it. It filters the world through whatever frame we have given it. The villagers gave the wind the frame of enemy. Every gust confirmed the story. Their nervous system stayed locked in stress, not just during the worst of the storm, but all winter, in anticipation of the next one. The old woman gave the wind the frame of purpose. Her nervous system could settle, and a settled nervous system is not a luxury. It's the difference between reactive and responsive, between tunnel vision and genuine perception. In the folk tradition she came from, this knowing had deep roots. The natural world was not chaos to be survived, but a pattern to be read. Those who could read it were not just wiser, they were safer. Recognition in that tradition was not spiritual bypassing, it was how you stayed alive.
Marcus Aurelius, writing in a very different time and place, but arriving at the same understanding, said that storms, disruption, hardship, these all belong to the same universal process that produces harvests and healthy bodies. The Stoics call it alignment with nature. The old woman in the valley simply called it Tuesday. But both traditions understood is that resistance is not neutral. It is not a safe default setting while you wait for things to improve. Resistance has a cost to your clarity, your energy, your capacity to act wisely in the very situation you are trying to change.
And here's the thing about participants versus opponents. Participants receive information that opponents never get. When you're at war with your environment, you're scanning it for confirmation of the threat. Everything that arrives gets filtered through that lens. But when you recognize your environment as something that you're inside, rather than something you're fighting, a completely different quality of attention becomes possible. You start to see structure, pattern, even opportunity inside what looked like an obstacle. The old woman saw seeds traveling on the wind. The other villagers just felt the cold.
I want to return to her one last time because I think the quietest, most radical thing about the story is not that the wind shifted, it's what she was like inside while the rest of the village was suffering. She was calm. She was orientated. She was, in the truest sense, at home, in the middle of a mountain winter, in one of the harshest environments imaginable. This is what recognition gives you. Not control over what is happening, something better than control and relationship with it. Conscious creation gets discussed in a lot of ways: belief, visualization, emotional frequency, and all of that does matter, but recognition is the ground beneath it all. You cannot genuinely align your intentions with a world you have decided is against you. The alignment has to come first. The seeing has to come first. When you truly recognize the forces moving through your life, their place, their function, their strange intelligence, the world stops being something happening to you. It becomes something you are moving through, alongside and with.
That whole story survived because people recognized something true in it. Generation after generation in cold mountain villages, someone heard it and thought, yes, that is how it works. It works the same way now. The environment responds to recognition, not because the wind has feelings, because you do. And recognition changes what you bring to every interaction, every decision, every moment inside the circumstances of your life. The old woman did not have power over the winter. She had something the rest of the village never found. She had peace inside. And from that peace, everything else followed.
Recognition is not a technique and it's not something you perform. It's a way of seeing that once it opens, changes everything downstream. The old woman knew that, and now maybe you do too.
If you found value in this conversation, consider supporting the channel by liking the video, subscribing if you haven't already, and sharing it with someone who might appreciate a deeper perspective on conscious creation. And if you'd like to stay connected with future discussions like this, be sure to activate the notification bell so that you're alerted when the next episode is released. Until next time, think differently, dream boldly, and create consciously.
I'm a quiet rebel, I don't need a shout. Changing the world from the inside out. No fists in the air, no war cries to sing. Just